you show up at the Capitol on a Saturday morning and there's a president of the university and there's this little lowly guy in the from UNM, and everybody introduces themselves, and so Dr. Hetty said to me, how did you get up here? And I said, well, I drove. And he said, why don't you ride up with me? And I said, well, I got to know the president. Now, how many opportunities does one have in life to be able to meet the top guy of a big organization like the university? I consider that a very lucky break for me. And so I became his assistant. I was his assistant for 3 years. And during that was about the time, well, it was the time when students were, when the whole protest movement against the war was going on. And he had become president, I think it was in '67, and I went to work for him in '69. And that's when we had the infamous or famous of the Guard, the state, National Guard coming in on campus, which resulted in the wounding and bayoneting of several innocent bystanders. And I'll tell you, that was a pretty scary time. And
so who called the National Guard?
you know, that's always been controversial. But what happened is that the governor David Cargo would disagree with me on this, but what happened is that the governor sent the guard over to the protests were going on campus. The guard was bivouacked or stationed over at the state fairgrounds. They were standing by, and the agreement was, because I remember hearing the conversation between the president of the Board of Regents and Dr. Hetty on a call to the governor. They were having a conference call, and the agreement and the understanding was that unless the university felt that it had lost control of the campus, but that they would request, that the university would request that the guard be brought on campus. Well, the university never requested that the guard be brought on campus. And what happened is that the governor, and this is a matter of public record, the governor was off fishing. He had turned over the acting governor was a lieutenant governor, Ely Francis, and apparently Ely Francis turned over the responsibility of the guard to the chief of the state police, by the name of Martin Vigil, and apparently Martin Vigil believed supposedly information that the students had guns in the sub, and that they had cut up the racks, bicycle racks, and made spears out of them. I mean, this is pretty fantastic, but these guys really believed that. And so without telling the president of the university or the Board of Regents, the guard was ordered to occupy the union. I mean, and arrest the students that were inside. The students that were inside had already agreed to be arrested. We had already served them with legal warrants, and they were going to go through the formality of being arrested and then released on their own recognizance a few hours later. What happened is that a bunch of students that were in the student union, along with the students who were occupying a little area of the union, were caught in by the guard in there. And when the National Guard came on, most of the guardsmen were not trained to handle riots. And none of them were. I know something about that. You know, I'm ex-military. I was, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was on Okinawa at about the time the President Eisenhower went to Okinawa, and the Marines were the ones that protected the president and had to, were trained. We were all trained in riot control, and what I knew about riot control, for sure, the National Guard. I mean, that guard was not trained for that, And I feel as badly about the National Guard, for the National Guard, because I really believe in the National Guard, because I think they got a really bad rap, but it wasn't their fault, it was the fault of the superiors who sent them out there without any training. That is, to this day, we still argue about that, you know.
So what happened exactly when they,
Well,
two groups?
when they came in, as they went in, as they got out of their trucks and went into the student union, there were students that were protesting. If you've seen movies and you know, old documentaries about how the protesters would try to stand in the way, and some of the guardsmen had unsheathed you know, bayonets, rifles with bayonets. And the reason I know and believe that the guardsmen were not trained properly for riot control was when we finally convinced my number of faculty and other university people. We approached the guard and the leaders of the guard and asked them what was happening is that here were these guardsmen holding their rifles at the ready to defend themselves if some students came at them, and they had unsheathed bayonets, and we were worried that some students would just charge them and a student would be killed. And bloodshed had already had already taken place. So we approached I can't remember which officer was in charge at the time, but he was approached, and he was a brigadier general. And he was approached, and we asked him, I specifically said, if it was possible to get the guardsmen to at least cover put the sheaths back in the scabbards back on the bayonets, and they refused to do that. And then we asked them, finally we asked them if they would, instead of carrying the rifle pointed directly in front of them, if they could carry it at the ready, at this way, at this angle. At present arms like this, but I mean at this angle. And when they gave the order, the guardsmen couldn't respond because they didn't know what the order meant. And then later on, they finally agreed to remove the bayonets, take the bayonets off. They couldn't. Most of those guardsmen didn't know how to take the bayonet. There's a little button at the tip of the rifle that releases the bayonet. They had M1 rifles. These are all Second World War rifles, and the guardsmen didn't even know how to do that.
So how many hours did
the guard was there all day. It happened on an afternoon. I think it was, I'm trying to remember if it was Friday afternoon. And I think they were there most of the day. And then they were finally moved out. And the state police took over. And Dr. Hetty closed the campus down for a few days.
So what was his response? Because he didn't call them in.
No.
But he would take a lot of heat.
Oh, he did. He took heat from those individuals that called the guard. Well, they tried to blame him, but I think what happened is the governor realized he was getting criticism for sending the guard down there, and he said, well, I sent it because the administration asked me to. Well, that wasn't true. To this day, it isn't true. But every now and then, the governor keeps insisting, Governor Cardinal keeps insisting that that's what happened. Dr. Hetty in his memoir says that didn't happen, and Arturo Ortega, who was then the president of the board, just said that didn't happen, and I was present when all of that happened.